Ladies and gentlemen, the largest ICE arrest raid in history. 475 workers. And these individuals were from Korea. Working in a Hyundai plant. Hyundai and Kia. I never trusted these Koreans. You know what I mean?
They're very good at math.
You know what I mean?
They're architecturally genius.
Oh yeah, I can attest to their math skills.
Their ability to build trebuchets, second to none.
Is
that true?
It was funny to hear that there's a lot of... I'm Korean, by the way. That's the joke. I think everybody knows that. I don't know. But it is funny to hear that actually there was 475 Korean workers here illegally. Like, no one saw that one coming.
How'd they get here?
Yeah, I don't know.
Bering Strait.
Well, the one thing,
that was like 200 years ago.
The one thing I will say, though, is more so... Well, maybe not more so. Let me clarify. Typically, the illegal immigrants from Asia we see are indentured servants. So what you'll get is companies in Southeast Asia will say, we will move you to America and you will owe us $50,000 and have to work for us to pay it back. Just general. It's illegal. You can't do this. They don't tell you this, right? They don't come and admit to the United States where it's all indentured servitude. They keep this on the books in China and Korea. So a lot of the migrants that you meet working at Asian food restaurants or like spas and salons, they're indentured servants who have to work for 10 years for a trafficking organization. And that's illegal. I just don't think that there's a priority to enforce against it. Like, no one in government cares.
You think this is that?
Sort of. The interesting thing about the indentured servants is that they're not here illegally. The company facilitates their immigration and pays the bills, and then they owe a debt. So it's indentured servitude. This is interesting because this is the much more nefarious. They brought these people here illicitly to have them build cars. That's crazy.
Shut that
in Georgia,
plant down.
Right? Yeah, in Georgia.
Shut that plant down. Expropriate it from Hyundai. I mean, it's not going to...
Oh, bro.
It's not going to blow up Hyundai, the corporation, but still.
If I were king, I would seize the plant.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd walk in with Royal Guard and say, let this be known to all who seek to subvert the will of the American people, our economy, our laws. If foreign interests are operating factories with 500 illegal workers undercutting the American people, we will nationalize it in 2 seconds. Then what I do, as king, is I would auction it off to American car companies to own the factory. I don't want the government to own it.
My joke on the riff off that is, if I were king, what a glorious 3 days that would be.
Look, whatever Donald,
sharp, my friend.
Whatever Donald Trump can do to punish this corporation, he should whatever he can legally do, he should do. Whether it's expropriation, whether it's tariffs, whether it's, I don't know what latitude the president has, but he should make it painful for Hyundai for having 475 illegal aliens here in the United States, because they facilitated. It's not just that they were, they snuck in. These were Korean workers from a Korean company. That means the company facilitated them coming in.
Oh, yeah.
There should be significant ramifications for Hyundai corporate.
Yeah.
Like maybe you tariff. I don't know if you tariff the company, but I know that there's all kinds of.
Find them.
Yeah, find the absolute hell out of them. There's all kinds of licensing that they have to do to be able to build a plant of this size in the United States. You should go after them in Korea, in South Korea, not just here in the United States. Go after them in South Korea for doing this.
Just to clarify, out of 560 workers, 300 were South Koreans, according to local media.
All of the illegal immigrants that were there?
There were 475 arrests. It said of the 560 workers, 300 were South Korean nationals. So I think there's two distinct numbers here.
Yeah, 500 total workers, 475 illegal.
And that means some of the South Koreans may have been legal and many of them were not legal. But yeah, that's a good point. That means the company knew and facilitated. And we're talking about 300. We're talking 475 illegal. That means Hyundai knew what
How many other
doing.
Hyundai plants are there in the United States?
Bro, just raid them
audit.
All of them. They should be raiding them all tomorrow. Because
you do have to take it up to corporate. You're right. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this is something that the corporate structure of Hyundai intentionally did.
You know that meme of the police breaking through the door and then coming through the ceiling and like stuff? That's what we need. We need that at all these plants. You know, we were talking earlier in the show about like ICE and the protests like disappearing and stuff. I'm sorry, National Guard and the protests kind of waning. I think ICE is playing a huge role in this. It was remarkable when we saw the traffic in LA. And the liberals ran to the high heaven. They desperately tried to say it's not true. There's still traffic. No, traffic in LA was down after the ICE raids. Whatever you think. We had this debate this morning on the use of military for law enforcement. And Pisco, our resident liberal guy, was arguing that Trump shouldn't do it. It's illegal and military shouldn't be enforced in the law. He asked me if I thought they should be in California. And I said, depends on the circumstances. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. In this circumstance in California, what were they doing when the military was deployed? Child slave labor on marijuana farms. That's what they were stopping. If you go to the average American, I guarantee you 9 out of 10 times, if you said, if there were child slaves on a drug farm, should we send in National Guard, Marines, or military to rescue those kids and shut down the production and the facilities? They're going to say, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. All right.
The emotional response is always yes. Is always go get them, stop it. But you got to think how that can be twisted.
I'm going to go ahead and say that in the event child slaves are being forced to grow drugs, could you provide for me a hypothetical scenario where I would disagree with stopping that using military force?
If it was another illegal thing other than drugs, maybe that underage people.
No. We're talking about
I'm trying to think of a similar circumstance in the future that might be replicated and National Guard gets sent in.
There is a drug farm. Child slaves are doing the work. And Trump says, I'm going to use the military to stop this. What reason could exist where we'd be like, no, Trump, don't use the military for this one? That's an honest question. I mean, come up with any hypothetical you want. A giant boulder is dangling over the children with an evil villain saying, if you bring the military, I'll cut the rope. Well, that's not real, but I'm saying give me a scenario where a reasonable person would be like, we better not use the military to stop this child slave ring at a drug farm. No, I think the reality is 100% of the time, a reasonable person, like anyone here, is going to be like, so child slaves are growing drugs. They have no choice.
Yeah,
let's go rescue them.
What can't Donald Trump do when he gets Democrats to defend drug cartels, child slavery, this sort of thing? Yeah, I think it's open and shut. The Democrats are underwater on 80-20 issues across the board, and this would be like a 95-5 issue.
Oh, I mean, and the 5 only because some people are developmentally disabled
and own the farms.
Was it just an operation where the National Guard was in and out?
Yeah, they went in and basically made arrests of illegals and rescued the children who were working as slaves.
But they didn't leave. The National Guard is not still present?
I don't believe at those facilities, but I do believe the National Guard is still present in California.
Doing a sting operation with the military on domestic soil is also a risky precedent to set, but if it's a sting operation and you're in and out, that's way different than...
It's not precedent, it's legal. There are, so let's just clarify, because this is the debate we were having this morning. There are criteria by which Trump can deploy military for domestic law enforcement. It's called the Insurrection Act. In this case, he didn't do it. Now, what Pisco argued is that Marines were assisting in execution of warrants. And my argument, and he said, so if it's illegal that Trump deploys the military, is it a good thing? And I'm like, sometimes. That's just, it's a ridiculous sophistry to be like, we're absolutists. Trump can never do a thing. I'm like, dude, in California, there were marijuana farms. Children were brought there against their will to work on those farms. Yeah, sorry, if the local law enforcement is protecting and facilitating this, Gavin Newsom won't do anything about it. I think Newsom should be brought to testify before Congress and criminally investigated for what his government did in facilitating child slave labor in his state and protecting against it, or at least being criminally negligent in not rescuing kids that they knew were being held as slaves. So when Donald Trump is like, okay, local laws are not being enforced, what authorities do I have? You've got federal law enforcement. Are they going to be equipped to go in and stop something as dangerous as like cartel child slave labor? Maybe. Trump said, we'll use the National Guard with assistance from the Marines. And I say, good. I don't care. The people are going to argue, but the precedent of the military stopping child slave labor? Listen, come to me when Marines are arresting a guy in front of an abortion clinic for praying, okay? And we'll have a conversation about free speech and the line being crossed. But I'm not playing this game where liberals say, you are never allowed to stop evil, and we have no choice but to let evil happen.
When you say child slaves, or were they like illegally brought here?
Yes.
And smuggled in, and they're just working on a farm?
And forced by the cartels to work growing drugs.
You got to rescue the kids.
Indeed.
But notice when Eisenhower sent the National Guard to integrate schools in Arkansas or Alabama, I forget.
I think it was Montgomery, Alabama.
So everybody, all the liberals, progressives, yay, they're not concerned about precedent. They're concerned about outcomes. If something advances their agenda, they're for it.
Yep.
And if something retards their agenda, they're against it. And it doesn't. They don't care about process. Conservatives.
I agree, though.
Yeah. What's that?
This is the argument I had with Pisco. I said that I disagree with Trump. He should ban TikTok. It's it's already been codified as law and signed into law that TikTok should be banned, and Trump is refusing to do it. And he said, "Why are you citing law? I thought you said sometimes. I thought you said Trump shouldn't follow the law because it's ridiculous sophistry." And I said, "Sometimes, in my moral worldview, TikTok is destroying this country. Trump should enforce the ban. I'm questioning why Trump is allowing TikTok to remain, and I think it has to do with moneyed interests. And it's fascinating to me that when I say Donald Trump has moneyed interests in TikTok, so will not ban it despite the law being passed, liberals defend that and say, no, TikTok is... the point is, I consider myself, I've said this for 10 years, philosophically anarchist. I understand that the only laws that get enforced are the laws that people are willing to enforce. I don't believe that the way we should live as a nation is anarchy. So that's why I say philosophically, I recognize if you do not use your power, you have none. That means if Donald Trump says there are child slaves on a farm in California, and the standard process to end this would be local law enforcement in California putting an end to it, we say, did it happen? No. We move down to the next step. Then what do? The feds get sent in to put an end to it. What we get from libertarians, and not the good Mises Caucus libertarians, we like those guys, but we had a debate with a Reason magazine libertarian. The conversation was, Democrats have illegally and illicitly arrested Trump's lawyers, unconstitutionally tried to stifle his campaign, to steal power in the United States. What is the remedy? And I was told by the libertarian, none. Democrats are allowed to be evil, but Republicans can't enforce the law against them because that would create escalation of conflict between political parties. So you just do nothing. And I said, well, then they'll do it again. And the corruption will get worse, and you will live in a corrupt system with tyrants. It's like, yeah, well, if Trump starts arresting Democrats for the illegal things they did, that's tyranny. And the liberals say the same thing. Listen, I understand there are child slaves on that farm, but it would be illegal to stop it. Also, I know that ICE enforcement is legal, and we're going to use Molotov cocktails to stop it despite it being illegal. I recognize that only those who are willing to use the power they have power, and I will state it publicly and fairly to everybody. I will not defend communists who try to take my free speech when their free speech is taken, okay? And I'm not going to sit back and let child slave labor continue. And this argument that it may be illegal doesn't fly because y'all Molotov cocktailed cops for years. So I don't think you actually care about the law, and you're lying to me, trying to use our goodwill. I know, Doug, you and I, we agree there should be a law and a mechanism by which law is enforced. So we don't like it if cops are illegally or unjustly arresting people.
Right.
They use that against us and say, don't you believe in being fair in the Constitution and good and good jurisprudence? And we say, yes. Okay, well, you can't stop the child slave labor. I'm sick of it. These people are child slaves. Okay, we have crossed that line a long time ago. And I will put the cherry on top. It is not even illegal what Trump is doing. He has the authority to send in the Marines and the National Guard literally whenever he wants.
He has to
not to enforce the law. No. Trump can send all of the Marines, every single one, right into downtown Chicago. They just can't enforce law. He can tell them, I need you to go stand in Chicago, and they'll say, okay.
All I'm doing is standing on the corner.
But if a guy gets in his face, can they shoot him because he got too close?
No.
But I mean, what if the guy's aggressing on him?
So are you saying if a Marine's life is being threatened, can he defend himself?
Or he thinks his life is being threatened.
Literally any human in the United States is allowed to do that.
Okay.
Except in Maryland.
So a guy with an whatever, I was going to say M16, like it's 1970.
You're allowed to carry guns in the United States too, Ian.
Yeah.
If you carried an M16, you're not going to have one of those because They made it illegal. But let's say you had an AR-15 and you were walking around West Virginia and a guy threatened your life or threatened you with great bodily harm. You can defend yourself. So my point is, I would not be happy if Trump sent all of the Marines into Chicago just to stand there. I'd be like, this is a waste of resources. It is cluttering things up. It's good for the economy, I guess. They'll buy a lot of hot dogs. Chicago, the businesses would be booming. There's better ways to go about law enforcement. But when they say, the estimate right now is that the Trump administration will send about 80 National Guard into each city. 80. I mean, come on. What is that? Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.